77 days since Nancy Guthrie disappeared. And today, the entire FBI investigation has abruptly shifted from a silent neighborhood to a 34-character line of digital code. The mainstream media remains entirely fixated on the physical crime scene. They broadcast the blurry footage of a masked intruder. They focus on the blood left behind on the floor. But the real war is currently raging on the permanent ledger of the blockchain. Federal agents have deployed their elite cyber units. They are pulling apart metadata from a series of bizarre ransom demands. These demands were sent directly to TMZ. The perpetrators claim they are holding an 84-year-old woman hostage. They know Nancy requires life-saving medication to survive, yet these exact individuals chose a payment method that leaves a permanent and indestructible digital trace. Every single Bitcoin transaction is recorded forever on a public ledger. Why would highly organized criminals take that specific risk? Did they make a fatal error in their technological arrogance? Or is this an elaborate digital misdirection designed to drain federal resources? The ransom behavior is highly erratic and deeply suspicious. The initial demand asked for millions of dollars. Then the price suddenly dropped. It plummeted to just half a single Bitcoin. This rapid devaluation completely contradicts the profile of a sophisticated kidnapping ring. They are bargaining against themselves while holding a human life. I am John. Today we are decoding the exact digital forensic trail these suspects thought they had erased. Subscribe to the channel if you want to follow this cyber manhunt until the final transaction is solved. We are peeling back the digital layers of a crime that bridges a dark driveway and a global network. The physical evidence is freezing cold right now, but the digital footprint is burning hot. FBI agents are no longer just looking for a physical getaway car. They are looking for a server routing error. They are hunting for the exact reason these suspects lied about their cryptocurrency movements. They are analyzing the digital signatures attached to those emails. To understand the magnitude of this digital lie, we first have to look at the severe limitations of the physical timeline. We have to look at the exact moments the real world went dark. On January 31st at 9:50 in the evening, Tommaso Cioni dropped Nancy at her residence. The garage door closed behind them. That remains the very last confirmed sighting of Nancy Guthrie. The street was quiet. The house was secured. Less than 4 hours later, that timeline violently fractures. At exactly 1:47 in the morning, a shadowy figure approaches the front of the house. The person wears gloves and a mask. They move with absolute purpose. They reach up. They deliberately cover the doorbell camera lens. The physical perimeter of the home is officially breached. The digital eyes of the house are permanently blinded. The next morning at 11:56, the family reports Nancy missing. Law enforcement arrives to find a devastating scene. The house is completely empty. Investigators find blood on the floor. Forensic analysis quickly confirms the DNA matches Nancy. This immediately rules out any theory of a voluntary disappearance or a medical wandering incident. The physical scene provides no clear exit route for the attackers. It offers no immediate motive for the invasion. It only provides absolute proof of a violent physical extraction. The local police hit a massive wall of silence. The physical trail simply evaporates into the cold night air. There are no reliable witnesses in the neighborhood. There are no tire tracks leading away from the property. The traditional physical investigation is completely stalled out. The suspects thought they'd achieved the perfect crime. They thought the blinded camera was their ultimate shield. But then they made a critical move. They opened a digital door they thought they could easily close. They stepped out of the shadows and onto the public internet. They sent an email to a gossip website. They asked for a specific amount of crypto. And in doing so, they gave federal agents the exact digital thread they needed to start pulling this entire operation apart. The physical investigation hits a dead end, but a new front opens online. A highly detailed ransom letter arrives at the entertainment news outlet TMZ. The sender claims to hold Nancy Guthrie. They demand a massive payout. They want this payment strictly in Bitcoin. This initial demand is for millions of dollars. The sum seems consistent with a high-profile kidnapping target, but then the digital behavior becomes incredibly erratic. The supposed kidnappers begin negotiating against themselves. They send follow-up messages. They drastically lower the ransom amount. They drop the price from millions to a fraction of that cost. They eventually settle on demanding just half a single Bitcoin. This rapid deflation of value makes zero sense. A professional kidnapping ring holding a high value target does not hold a fire sale. They do not slash their prices within days. This bizarre pricing strategy points to amateur opportunists. It suggests desperation rather than calculation. Or perhaps it is a deliberate smokescreen. We must look at the chosen currency itself. Cryptocurrency is often misunderstood by the general public. Many people believe Bitcoin provides absolute anonymity. Criminals often operate under this exact same dangerous misconception. They think digital wallets act like untraceable Swiss bank accounts. They assume they can move funds without leaving a fingerprint, but federal cyber investigators know the exact opposite is true. Bitcoin is merely pseudo-anonymous. It is essentially a public ledger. Every single fraction of a coin transferred is permanently recorded. The transaction history is visible to anyone. The FBI possesses specialized software to trace these digital pathways. They can map the flow of cryptocurrency across the globe. They love when suspects demand Bitcoin. It gives them a permanent trail to follow. The perpetrators thought they were being untraceable. They were actually handing the authorities a permanent map. They tied their digital identities to a highly publicized ransom demand. The TMZ emails are not just text. They are digital breadcrumbs. They contain routing information. They hold clues about the sender's location. The FBI is currently tearing apart the digital envelope of those messages. They are looking for the IP addresses hidden inside. The suspects are trying to hide behind screens. They are trying to separate themselves from the physical violence. The digital ransom demand feels completely disconnected from the brutal reality of the crime scene. The emails are cold and calculating. The physical extraction was chaotic and bloody. This disconnect forces us to look closer at the timeline. We have to map the digital demands against the physical events. We need to find the exact moment the two worlds collide. The FBI is comparing the timestamps of the emails to the neighborhood activity. They are searching for a correlation. They want to know if the sender was monitoring the scene, or if the sender is thousands of miles away just reading the news. The ransom demands try to control the narrative. They try to establish a motive of pure financial gain, but the physical evidence tells a much darker story. The blood on the floor does not match the clean digital transaction. The physical violence contradicts the calculated email exchanges. We are looking at a profound inconsistency. The suspects are projecting a sophisticated image online, but their physical actions were desperate and messy. The FBI Cyber Division is exploiting this gap. They are tracking the Bitcoin addresses provided in the TMZ emails. They are waiting for a single Satoshi to move. The moment the suspects try to access those funds, they will trigger an alarm. The digital trap is set. The agents are watching the blockchain around the clock. They know the suspects have to make a move eventually. They know the digital silence cannot last forever. The money has to be laundered. It has to be converted into usable currency. And that conversion process is where the FBI will strike. They are tracing the potential pathways through various crypto exchanges. They are identifying the weak points in the digital laundering process. The suspects thought they were playing a smart game, but they stepped into an arena where the FBI holds all the cards. The blockchain does not forget. It does not forgive mistakes. Every digital action creates an equal and opposite reaction on the ledger. The investigators are simply waiting for the suspects to make one wrong click. They are waiting for the suspects to log into the wrong exchange. The digital net is tightening. The focus has completely shifted from the physical street to the digital highway. The suspects are being hunted through code. They are being tracked through mathematics. The physical trail may be cold, but the digital pursuit is burning bright. The cyber agents are closing in on the digital footprint. They are following the money, and the money is leading them straight back to the night of January 31st. The digital evidence is starting to align with the physical timeline. The two separate investigations are converging, and the point of convergence reveals a truly horrifying detail. It reveals a level of cruelty that the digital emails completely tried to hide. The FBI now has a clear picture of what happened in the dark. They have mapped the exact sequence of events. They have synchronized the digital demands with the physical reality. And the result is absolutely chilling. The digital timeline completely shatters the illusion of a simple ransom demand. The suspects were not just waiting for a payout, they were actively managing a life and death situation. They were making brutal decisions in real time. They were balancing the value of cryptocurrency against the life of an 84-year-old woman. And we know exactly when they made their final calculation. At 2:12 in the morning, the digital and physical worlds violently collide. We know the intruder blinded the camera at 1:47. The house was breached. Nancy was taken. But the most devastating piece of evidence is completely invisible to the naked eye. Nancy relies on a pacemaker. This medical device continuously monitors her heart. It transmits vital health data. It is a lifeline keeping an 84-year-old woman alive. At exactly 2:12 in the morning, that lifeline is deliberately severed. The pacemaker is disconnected. The medical data stream instantly flatlines. This is a highly specific and intentional act. It requires physical proximity to the victim. It requires a deliberate choice to stop her medical monitoring. The cruelty of this exact moment is staggering. The suspects are actively terminating her medical support. They are doing this in the dead of night. They are doing this while simultaneously preparing to demand millions of dollars online. We have to look at the severe psychological disconnect happening right here. The perpetrators are demonstrating extreme physical ruthlessness. They are stripping an elderly woman of her critical medical technology. They are leaving her incredibly vulnerable. They are potentially sealing her fate at 2:12 in the morning. Yet hours later, they project a completely different persona online. They send emails to TMZ acting like calculated businessmen. They try to negotiate exchange rates for a human life. They haggle over the price of a Bitcoin. The contrast is incredibly jarring. On one side, we have a brutal physical assault and the severing of a pacemaker. On the other side, we have amateurish haggling over cryptocurrency. This massive contradiction forces investigators to ask a terrifying question. Are they hunting one highly disorganized group? Or are they hunting two completely separate entities? The physical intruders acted with lethal precision. They bypassed security. They neutralized the cameras. They extracted the target and severed the medical tracking. They left behind a scene that suggests a targeted hit. But the digital actors behave like frantic opportunists. They lower their price. They send erratic messages to gossip sites. They fail to provide any proof of life. They demand crypto but seem unsure of its actual value. It is entirely possible that the people who sent the TMZ emails never actually set foot in that house. We might be looking at digital scavengers. These are individuals who monitor police scanners and breaking news. They see a high-profile disappearance. They immediately seize the opportunity to extract money from a desperate family. They craft a fake ransom note. They demand Bitcoin knowing it is hard for local police to trace. They are purely exploiting the tragedy. This theory explains the bizarre price drop. A scavenger has no actual leverage. They have no hostage. Any amount of money they receive is pure profit, so they lower the price to entice a quick payout. They are fishing for a desperate reaction. But if the digital suspects are just opportunistic scammers, then the physical reality becomes much darker. If the ransom emails are a complete hoax, then we have no communication from the actual attackers. We have no motive. We have no demands. We just have an empty house and a disconnected pacemaker. The silence from the real perpetrators is deafening. The FBI has to pursue both tracks simultaneously. They have to hunt the digital scammers, and they have to hunt the physical attackers. They cannot ignore the Bitcoin demands. The digital trail might still lead to the actual suspects. The attackers might be trying to mask their sophistication with amateurish emails. They might be intentionally dropping the price to confuse the authorities. They might be playing a highly complex game of misdirection. The cyber agents are tearing through the digital layers. They are analyzing the syntax of the ransom notes. They are comparing the language to known criminal profiles. They are looking for any linguistic slip that might reveal their true identity. They are cross-referencing the Bitcoin wallet addresses against known dark web databases. They are searching for any previous digital activity linked to those specific accounts. The investigation is a massive dual operation. The physical detectives are re-examining the blood evidence. They are searching the surrounding areas. The cyber detectives are following the invisible lines of code. They are mapping the global network of servers used to send the emails. The 2:12 a.m. pacemaker disconnection is the anchor point. It is the last confirmed interaction with Nancy Guthrie. Everything before that moment is preparation. Everything after that moment is a desperate scramble for answers. The suspects hold all the cards right now. They control the narrative. They dictate the pace of the investigation. But their reliance on digital communication is their greatest vulnerability. They cannot negotiate without leaving a trace. They cannot receive the Bitcoin without exposing a wallet address. The FBI is banking on their digital greed. They are waiting for the suspects to prioritize the money over their operational security. The tension is incredibly high. The family is waiting for any sign of hope. The investigators are working around the clock. The digital clock is ticking. The physical trail is fading. The cyber hunt is intensifying. The suspects are hiding behind layers of encryption. They're hiding behind proxy servers, but the FBI has the tools to strip those layers away. They have the technology to unmask the digital actors. The question is no longer if they will find the digital trail. The question is where that trail will ultimately lead. Will it lead to the people who breached the house, or will it lead to a basement thousands of miles away? The investigators are following the data. The data does not lie. The data does not forget. The suspects made a choice at 2:12 in the morning. They made another choice when they sent that first email. Those choices are now permanently linked in the digital realm. The FBI is slowly pulling the strings together. They are tightening the net. The suspects think they are safe in the shadows of the internet, but the digital spotlight is about to be turned on. The truth is hidden in the code, and the code is slowly being deciphered. The facade is cracking. The digital lies are starting to unravel. If these suspects are capable of such physical cruelty, why is their digital footprint so incredibly careless? Are we dealing with two distinct threats? The public reads the ransom demands. The media dissects the threatening words. But federal agents are reading something entirely invisible. They are reading the metadata. Every email carries a hidden digital passport. It records the exact journey of that message. It logs every server the email bounced through. The perpetrators claim they are holding Nancy in Mexico. They type these geographical threats into the TMZ messages, but the routing data tells a completely different story. The data does not point to a cartel hideout. It points to a series of virtual private networks. The suspects are desperately bouncing their signal across the globe. They are trying to mask their true physical location. They want authorities chasing shadows across the border, but cyber investigators do not chase shadows. They chase digital infrastructure. They are stripping away these protective network layers one by one. The technical process is tedious and highly complex. Agents must subpoena internet service providers across multiple jurisdictions. They must force tech companies to hand over server logs. The perpetrators are relying on international privacy laws to protect them. They are hiding behind encrypted email services. But even the strongest encryption has structural flaws. User error is the greatest asset to law enforcement. The suspects have to log into these secure systems. They have to connect their devices to a network, and that connection requires an IP address. The FBI is hunting for the single moment the suspect slipped up. They are looking for the one time the VPN failed to connect. They are searching for a split second of exposed digital identity. This exact forensic process exposes the first major lie. The metadata heavily contradicts the narrative of an international smuggling operation. It suggests a much more localized digital origin. The suspects are likely much closer than they claim. They are using digital tools to project a massive criminal enterprise, but the underlying code reveals a localized operation. The lies are woven directly into the digital fabric. And this brings us back to the cryptocurrency demand. Bitcoin is the supposed currency of the criminal underworld. The suspects demand half a coin to release an elderly woman. They believe this specific request protects their identity. The exact opposite is actually true. Setting up a secure digital wallet requires multiple steps. It requires interacting with digital exchanges. It requires moving funds from traditional banks into the crypto ecosystem. The suspects had to create a digital receptacle for the ransom. They had to register a specific receiving address, and that address is now the most scrutinized string of text in the country. The FBI Cyber Division is monitoring that specific digital vault. They have flagged the address across every major global exchange. The moment a single fraction of a Bitcoin enters that wallet, the trap springs. The authorities will immediately trace the outbound flow. The suspects are currently holding an empty digital bag. They are waiting for the family to deposit the funds, but they do not realize the massive surveillance apparatus surrounding that wallet. They cannot spend the money without revealing themselves. They cannot convert the Bitcoin into cash without interacting with a regulated financial institution. The modern financial system requires identity verification. It requires a name and a physical address to withdraw large sums. The suspects are trapped in a digital paradox. They have demanded a currency they cannot easily use. They are holding a ransom note that acts as a tracking beacon. The digital investigation is systematically dismantling their carefully constructed illusion. The FBI knows the suspects are lying about their location. They know the suspects are lying about their capabilities. The metadata proves the international cartel story is a complete fabrication. The digital evidence is stripping away their power. The suspects thought they were controlling the negotiation. They thought the terrifying emails would force a quick payout. They underestimated the relentless nature of digital forensics. The cyber agents are not intimidated by the threats. They are only interested in the raw data. The data reveals a frantic attempt to extort money. It reveals a highly flawed understanding of blockchain technology. The perpetrators are leaving digital fingerprints all over the ransom demands. The FBI is quietly collecting these invisible prints. They are building a profile of the sender. They are analyzing the timing of the messages. They look at the hours the suspects are active online. This activity log can reveal time zones and sleep patterns. Every digital action is another piece of the puzzle. The investigation is moving from the physical street to the server room. The search grid is no longer a neighborhood. It is a global network of interconnected computers. The agents are methodically closing the digital distance. The suspects are running out of places to hide online. The digital walls are closing in on them. The digital net is incredibly tight. The metadata exposes the lies about the suspect locations. But this forensic victory creates a massive complication. It deepens the central mystery surrounding Nancy Guthrie. The digital lies force investigators to confront a terrifying possibility. The people sending the emails might not have Nancy. The entire TMZ ransom demand could be a cruel scam. This is the darkest valley of the current investigation. The authorities are caught between two conflicting realities. The first reality involves a highly organized kidnapping crew. This crew breaches the house and disables the medical pacemaker. They execute a flawless physical extraction. Then they suddenly panic online and slash their ransom price. The second reality involves a complete disconnect between the physical and digital crimes. In this scenario, a brutal physical attack occurs at the residence. Someone takes Nancy into the night. Then a completely unrelated group of digital scavengers sees the news. These opportunists decide to prey on the grieving family. They craft fake emails and demand Bitcoin. This second theory explains the amateurish digital behavior. It explains the rapid price drop and the geographic lies. A scammer has absolutely no leverage. They are just hoping for a desperate emotional payout. But if the emails are a complete hoax, we are back at square one. The physical investigation remains totally stalled. The local police still have a dark driveway and a blood-stained floor. They have no communication from the actual attackers. This brings the focus painfully back to the initial physical timeline. We must return to the events of January 31st. Tommaso Cioni drove his mother-in-law home. The garage door closed at exactly 9:50 that evening. That is the final verified moment Nancy was seen safe. The authorities are scrutinizing that specific window of time. They are looking at the 4 hours before the camera was blinded. The timeline is incredibly tight. The physical window for the abduction is narrow. The presence of Tommaso as the last known contact is a critical data point. Investigators always look closely at the last person to see a victim. It is standard investigative procedure in any disappearance. The authorities are piecing together his exact movements that night. They are mapping the neighborhood traffic patterns during that 4-hour gap. The physical evidence must eventually align with a suspect. If the Bitcoin demands are fake, the real attacker is completely silent. They are a ghost who left physical violence but no digital footprint. The two investigations are essentially fighting each other. The cyber agents are chasing a potentially fake ransom demand. The physical detectives are chasing a shadow in the driveway. The family is trapped in the agonizing space between these two theories. They are waiting for a ransom call that might be a scam. They are hoping for a physical clue that does not exist. The most glaring omission in the digital demands is proof of life. Kidnappers usually provide evidence their victim is alive. They send a current photo or a specific voice recording. They need to prove they hold the asset. The TMZ emails contain absolutely no proof of life. The senders refuse to provide any verification. They just demand the cryptocurrency and issue vague threats. This refusal strongly supports the scammer theory. A real kidnapper wants to ensure the transaction happens. A scammer cannot provide proof because they do not have the victim. The lack of proof is a massive red flag for federal agents. The FBI advises families not to pay unverified demands, but the emotional pressure on the family is unbearable. Nancy requires her specific heart medication. The medical clock is ticking incredibly fast. Every hour without her pacemaker data is critical. The suspects know this medical reality. They are weaponizing the family panic. The digital scammers are actively obstructing the real investigation. They are draining federal resources and cyber division manpower. Agents have to verify every single email sent to the media. They cannot afford to ignore a potentially real demand. The hoaxers are essentially providing cover for the actual physical attackers. The real perpetrators are watching the media frenzy. They see the FBI chasing Bitcoin wallets. The conflicting theories create a massive fog over the entire case. The public is confused by the changing ransom amounts. The media is hyper-focused on the TMZ emails. The real story is getting lost in the digital noise. The authorities need a decisive breakthrough. They need to completely eliminate the hoax theory or confirm it. They must determine exactly who controls that specific Bitcoin wallet. They need to put a name to the digital address. The suspects behind the emails made a critical assumption. They assumed the anonymity of the blockchain would protect them. They believed their digital lies would hold up against federal scrutiny. They thought they could manipulate a tragedy for quick financial gain, but they fundamentally misunderstood the technology they are using. The blockchain is not a dark alleyway, it is a brightly lit stage. Every transaction is broadcast to the entire network. The suspects are standing on that stage holding a fake ransom note. They are waiting for a payout that will instantly trigger a federal trap. The investigators are watching the digital ledger closely. The conflicting theories are about to collide in a spectacular way. The digital lies are stretching to their absolute breaking point. The suspects are about to learn a very hard lesson about digital currency. The blockchain is permanent and it is unforgiving. The extortionists made a move they cannot take back, and that move is about to expose the deepest layer of this mystery. The extortionists make their most desperate digital maneuver yet. They execute a highly technical evasion tactic. This specific method is known in cyber intelligence circles as chain hopping. This is their ultimate strategy to wash the digital trail clean. They attempt to move the extorted funds across multiple different cryptocurrency blockchains. They violently swap the original Bitcoin for alternative privacy-focused coins. They aggressively split the ransom amount into hundreds of smaller digital fractions. They send these tiny digital fractions bouncing through automated offshore mixing services. They believe this incredibly complex web of rapid transfers creates an impenetrable digital fog. They assume local law enforcement simply cannot untangle thousands of microtransactions. They think the sheer overwhelming volume of raw data will blind the federal agents. They assume these chaotic transactions occurring simultaneously across the globe provide absolute cover. This is the exact reason the primary suspects lied so aggressively. They deliberately lied about their digital financial movements to project absolute power. They firmly thought they possessed superior technological leverage over the authorities. They truly believed their digital agility made them essentially bulletproof in this extortion attempt. But the Federal Cyber Task Force possesses highly specialized digital countermeasures. They deploy proprietary tools specifically designed to shatter this exact illusion of anonymity. The federal agents utilize advanced blockchain heuristic tracking software. This incredibly sophisticated technology maps out every single digital jump in real time. It visually reconstructs the deliberately shattered transaction history on federal monitors. The permanent public ledger meticulously records every single hop without fail. It permanently logs the rapid movement from one temporary wallet to the next. The digital evidence cannot simply be washed away by splitting it apart. It just creates a much wider and more visible pattern of undeniable guilt. The cyber agents silently watch the stolen funds scatter across the dark web. They patiently monitor the inevitable and required reassembly of those specific digital assets. The criminals eventually face a massive and completely unavoidable structural roadblock. Digital currency holds absolutely no practical real-world value in a complete vacuum. It remains essentially useless computer code until it is converted into fiat cash. The extortion suspects eventually need to purchase actual physical items. They desperately need to transfer the stolen wealth to a traditional banking institution. That critical financial conversion process requires a centralized cryptocurrency exchange platform. These massive global financial exchanges are bound by extremely strict international regulations. They operate under intense anti money laundering federal laws and oversight. They strictly require exhaustive identity verification protocols from every single active user. They legally demand government issued identification documents to process any major withdrawal. They routinely require live facial recognition scans to establish an approved trading account. This standard security process is known globally as Know Your Customer Compliance. The perpetrators are currently holding digital wealth they simply cannot spend anonymously. They are staring in panic at a locked digital vault of their own making. The exact moment they attempt to cash out, their true identities are exposed. Their physical IP addresses and personal banking details are instantly flagged by federal algorithms. The cyber investigators have essentially poisoned the entire digital well. They are simply waiting in the shadows for the thirsty suspects to take a drink. This terrifying realization fundamentally shifts the entire balance of power in this ongoing case. The cyber criminals are essentially trapped entirely inside their own complex extortion scheme. They engineered a highly sophisticated digital maze to hide their criminal tracks. But the federal authorities hold the absolute master blueprint to that exact maze. The ongoing digital analysis completely exposes the critical vulnerability of the unseen suspects. Their heavy reliance on complex technology is rapidly becoming their ultimate downfall. They traded a lack of physical evidence at the crime scene for permanent digital evidence online. The meticulous forensic accounting creates a perfect, irrefutable map of their criminal intent. The cyber agents isolate the specific exchange accounts directly linked to the chain hopping. They issue emergency federal subpoenas to immediately freeze those exact digital assets. The suspects suddenly realize their digital getaway vehicle is completely immobilized. They are stranded entirely on the digital highway, with federal agents rapidly closing in. The terrifying illusion of the untouchable international cartel completely evaporates into thin air. The digital forensic trail points directly toward a much more localized and desperate threat. The unknown suspects are rapidly running out of digital runway. The federal authorities are actively preparing to execute the final phase of this digital trap. The cyber operation reaches an absolutely critical and explosive boiling point. Yet the terrifying physical reality of this horrific case remains agonizingly unresolved. The digital ledger provides incredible actionable intelligence regarding the extortionists, but it absolutely does not provide a physical geographical coordinate for the victim. Nancy Guthrie remains completely unaccounted for after 77 grueling days. The authorities are desperately balancing an explosive and active digital lead. They are heavily weighing it against a freezing cold physical investigative trail. The dark driveway of the local residence remains completely empty. The physical blood evidence has been fully cataloged and rigorously analyzed. The surrounding quiet neighborhood has been repeatedly searched by heavily armed tactical teams. The physical task force is currently running down every possible vehicle registration. They are meticulously checking every single car in the immediate area on that specific night. They are re-interviewing every single individual, even loosely associated with the family. They are desperately searching for any microscopic connection. They absolutely need a link between the physical intruder and the digital extortionists. We are currently observing a massive and entirely unprecedented federal stakeout. This intense stakeout is occurring entirely on a glowing bank of computer screens. The cyber agents are watching a specific digital address 24 hours a day. They are closely monitoring a single pending digital transaction. This single pending transaction could break this entire mystery wide open in an instant. The devastated family is trapped in an unimaginable and torturous holding pattern. They are enduring a brutal and relentless psychological waiting game. They are desperately waiting for a digital network ping. They fiercely pray that a digital signal might bring a physical resolution to their nightmare. The central, terrifying questions continue to heavily haunt the ongoing investigation. Does the masked figure who deliberately blinded the security camera hold the digital keys? Do they actually control the private keys to that heavily monitored crypto wallet? Or are we helplessly watching two entirely different sets of cold-blooded predators? Are we seeing opportunistic digital scavengers fighting over the exact same tragic physical event? The digital surveillance net is completely deployed across the entire globe. The physical search grid remains fully active in the local jurisdiction. The authorities are tensely waiting for a single critical mistake on either front. The investigation currently stands at a terrifying precipice with no clear resolution in sight. The unknown suspects currently hold the ultimate secret regarding the fate of Nancy. But the immense digital infrastructure is slowly and methodically crushing their assumed anonymity. The physical clock continues to tick relentlessly for the missing 84-year-old. The digital footprint is permanently frozen in time. It is sitting silently on a server waiting to be fully decoded and exposed. The physical perpetrators might have successfully escaped into the dark winter night. They might have physically evaded the initial rapid police response. But they absolutely cannot escape the permanent and unforgiving memory of the public blockchain. The digital evidence will patiently outlive their desperate attempts to hide. Every single passing day brings the cyber agents one line of code closer to the truth. The unbearable tension between the physical absence and the active digital presence is overwhelming. The investigation is a high-stakes race against time and modern technology. The authorities refuse to close the file until both timelines are fully reconciled. The digital ledger currently holds the answers. The physical world holds the tragic and devastating consequences. We are witnessing a modern manhunt playing out simultaneously across servers and physical streets. The ultimate resolution heavily hangs on a single digital mistake. You must stay subscribed to this channel as we monitor every single federal update regarding this pending transaction. In the modern digital age, absolutely nobody can walk away without leaving a shadow. What this ongoing case teaches us about digital extortion is terrifyingly clear. We are currently witnessing a massive and brutal evolution in criminal behavior. A violent physical crime is no longer contained just to a specific geographical location. The active crime scene immediately extends outward into the global network. It stretches across remote servers and decentralized financial platforms. The physical evidence left behind might slowly degrade over time. Blood patterns naturally fade away. Eyewitnesses constantly forget crucial physical details under extreme stress. But a digital footprint operates under completely different investigative rules. Digital evidence acts as a permanent and completely silent witness to the crime. It never sleeps and it never forgets a single interaction. The deliberate severing of a critical medical device is a horrific act of violence. It is also an undeniable and highly precise digital timestamp. It creates an immutable forensic record of an exact criminal action. The public cryptocurrency blockchain functions in the exact same unforgiving way. The unknown suspects assumed the advanced technology would provide them with an impenetrable shield. They fundamentally misunderstood the core architecture of the digital tools they actively deployed. Every single digital extortion demand creates a permanent forensic vulnerability for the sender. The internet directly connects the hiding criminals to the federal investigators hunting them. Modern law enforcement agencies are adapting to this new digital landscape incredibly fast. They treat a complex string of code with the exact same weight as physical DNA. They process a digital wallet address exactly like a bloody fingerprint left at a physical crime scene. This ongoing investigation highlights a critical reality of modern personal security. The smart devices currently keeping us alive and connected also record our darkest moments. We must collectively understand that true anonymity simply does not exist online anymore. Every single digital action carries a permanent and highly traceable consequence. The digital ledger is silently documenting the sheer arrogance of these unseen suspects. The federal cyber units are simply waiting to translate that code into an official arrest warrant. This reality forces us to look back at the unsolved physical mystery. We constantly return to the massive question that started this entire digital manhunt. Is this highly scrutinized Bitcoin transaction the final fatal error of a ruthless kidnapping crew? Or is it merely the beginning of a much more brutal and complex game of cat and mouse? The public blockchain simply does not know how to tell a lie. The federal cyber agents absolutely refuse to stop tracking this specific digital trail. We will not stop following this specific case either. Tracking Evil with John will closely cover every single development in this ongoing federal investigation. We will be right here the exact moment that pending cryptocurrency transaction finally processes. We will analyze the raw data when the FBI inevitably unmasks the individuals holding that specific digital wallet. The digital silence cannot last forever. I need to know your exact thoughts on this massive digital and physical contradiction. Do you truly believe the perpetrators demanding the cryptocurrency are the exact same people who physically disabled that home security camera? Are we looking at a highly organized crew or two completely separate groups of predators? Leave your specific investigative theory in the comments right now. The devastated family is currently trapped in an agonizing cycle of silence and potentially fake ransom demands. The physical investigative trail remains hauntingly empty tonight. The biological clock for Nancy may have tragically stopped ticking, but the relentless countdown of digital justice has only just begun.